What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. I know it's been a while, and I know I've owed you this segment here for a while. This is going to be the post mortem on my bike that I took on the Great American Monkey 1000 back in early of October of this year with a large group of guys. We rode across Utah, mostly back roads, for 1,000 kilometers over a 7-day period, and we put these little bikes to the test. I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of walk you through how the bike fared and what worked, what didn't work, what broke, if anything. And especially if you've been following along, you know all the parts that I used on this bike. This was built basically from a bare frame up to what you see behind us, and then it was beat to death for a week out in Utah. So I wanted, like I said, I want to share that with you. There's some hopefully some myths that I can dispel here, and we'll just go through it and we'll take a look at it. So let me dip you in here real quick, and we're going to get right at it. Alrighty, here we go. I think we'll just kind of take this from the top to bottom, front to back, and we'll talk about the things that are worth talking about. So getting right on with it, up here in the cockpit, as I like to call it, this kiliometer handlebar bar there, or handlebar bag, worked out really good. It was a good place to stash my phone, and then I was able to run a USB charger cord down to this USB charger port that I had mounted here on the handlebars, which, by the way, worked flawlessly the entire time. I've got my cup holder over here. Use that every single day. If you've followed along with the other videos, you'll notice one day I had a 7-Eleven Big Gulp in there for a good portion of the day. My CarPlay screen was worth every bit of what I paid for it. I was able to run my Onyx off-road navigation up there. Always had a good view of what was going on, and in the event that I were to crash, I wasn't worried about tearing up my phone. The Honda Navi factory OEM mirrors, I forget what I paid for them, but it wasn't very much, brand new, worked perfectly. Not one time did they come loose and I had to retighten them or anything like that. That's always something you seem to deal with on aftermarket mirrors. My $9.99 throttle control from Amazon and cable worked perfect the entire time. Had no issues with it whatsoever. Let's see what else we got up there. I've got a couple, you can't see, there's one here. That was my Insta360 camera mounts. Those worked out well. Let's see, let's come around here. My little mini turn signals worked out fine the entire time. No issues with the LED headlight. No issues with the digital gauge cluster. By the way, what you're seeing here is exactly how I pulled it off the trail and loaded it into the truck and brought it home. I have not washed this bike once since I went on this journey. This little saddlebag piece I had up here was handy to stash things. Did I need it? I don't know. We'll talk about that later. The Bart Motoco V2 adjustable inverted front forks were just eating up the terrain. I was the only one on my team that actually rode the whole event that had these, and while the other guys were complaining about kind of getting beat to death on some of the terrain, that setup there was just swallowing the rough terrain. Front brake, disc brake, no issue. The IRC tires that I ran, no issue. You can see they do have some wear on them. Again, these are tubeless on the 12-inch aluminum Bart Motoco rims. A lot of discussion beforehand amongst our group about running tubeless tires and what happens if we get a flat. Let me just start out by saying nobody got a flat tire in our group. And then I will say that I had a compact portable air compressor that was the size of about 2 cell phones that I brought with me for air. And then I had a bottle of tire slime, and then I had a very well-equipped plug kit. So short of just ripping out a sidewall, I think I'd have been fine had I punctured a tire, but I didn't. Let's see. This has got kind of a funny story to it. I broke the tip of my front brake lever off. We had pulled into a kind of a gravel parking lot one afternoon after riding for a pretty good amount of time. And we knew there was another group coming up behind us, so we were just kind of there screwing around. And I thought it'd be a good idea to do a donut on my bike. What I didn't account for was all the extra weight I had hanging on the back with that big box I was running, and then everything in my bags. And I got about halfway through a donut, and she decided she was going the other direction. And I laid it down, and that was the only damage. I ran it that way the rest of the trip, no issues. I probably will see if I can get another one of those and replace that at some point. The mushroom grips from Bart Motoco was perfect. Really made it nice and comfortable the entire ride. Let's see here on this side. The kept speed exhaust worked fine. I don't think it was too loud either. It had just kind of a nice deep tone to it. None of the other guys on the team ever complained about me making too much noise, and it wasn't bothering me at all. The kept speed 2-inch extended swing arm. As you can see, it's still there. I'm not complaining about it. It worked flawlessly, did not break. Then I had also the D&M shocks from Bart Motoco, which actually came in handy as I was able to fine-tune them for the trail as I learned more about how they worked. Let's see here. I want to pop back over to this side real quick and talk about the engine. This is a YX140 semi-auto electric start engine that I got from Bart Motoco, running a Nibby 24 millimeter carburetor. And then I ran this little sock on the air filter as well. This thing was a beast. Always started every time, no issues. Didn't burn a drop of oil. There were times when you can see, gives you a rough idea. There were times when that entire top jug, and I'm not kidding you, was encased in mud, and it didn't overheat. You know, this thing spent most of its life on that trip, probably running anywhere from a crawl to 10 miles an hour most of the time, and never hiccuped. Let's see here. The Nibby carburetor, again, was fine. Didn't have to touch it, didn't make any adjustments to it. So for those of you that, turn your nose up at those Nibby carburetors because they don't cost as much as a Mikuni, well, I mean, everything I've got on here was just put to probably way more of a torture test than any of you, internet mechanics are ever going to put your bikes through, just so you can say that you've got a $150 carburetor on there. That thing worked perfectly fine. It's never been apart other than a jet change when I first got it. Let's see. I do want to start talking about a couple of the bads here. So if you take a look at this brake pedal, normally the foot portion sits about right here, the part you press on. Well, that's a casualty of bouncing over a lot of rocks trying to get this thing through these trails. That's actually the second version of that being messed up. The first day it got messed up, it was pretty bad. We found a shop. I got it kind of bent back, at least roughly where it needed to be. And then, no kidding, right out the gate on the trail the next day, it got bent again, and I just dealt with it the rest of the time. I do plan on addressing that as I am going to continue to ride this bike. While we're looking at this area where the big gallon-and-a-half gas tank is, I did figure out that I was able to run roughly 90 miles on that gallon-and-a-half tank. And then I was carrying a 1 gallon fuel bladder, which I shared in one of my previous videos, to augment that. And I never even felt like I was going to run out of gas. Everything was fine. It was, so 2.5 gallons was just enough. And there was a couple days, we covered over 100 miles. And one of those was a 10-hour day. So the bike was running a lot longer. let's see. I did lose a nut on my shock mount here. I believe this happened on the last day when we ran about 60 miles on pavement to get back to Hanksville. We were running as wide open as fast as these things would go. And I'm sure there was a lot of new vibrations going on that this bike hadn't seen before that day. I'm pretty confident that's when it happened because I was pretty good about inspecting this thing every morning before we took off. Let's see here. Getting back to that missing nut, if you look, you can see things are kind of cattywampus here. My upper rack is sloping a little bit this way. Well, here's what happened. Again, this happened on literally the last day going back to the camp in Hanksville. A weld broke right here. You see it? That weld broke at some point. Which, by the way, it was not my weld. That was a factory weld on these racks that I modified. And because of that, I don't know, but there's another bolt I have going in right here that mounts to the frame, and there's like a nut type deal welded into the frame. Well, that nut thing also has come loose, so that's going to have to be re-welded. And I feel like, that and then that nut missing on the other side, all the structural integrity that I had kind of built into this just went out the window. And I didn't even notice it until we actually got to camp and I got to looking at things. But other than that, considering what it had gone through the 6 prior days, I'm going to say this worked. Because don't forget, I had that box mounted up here as well, that like adventure bike box, which came in really handy. Nothing happened with it. It held up just fine. It was a nice place to have to just stash stuff that I could get to really quick. My secondary battery here that I was running, this little battery box I got it off of Amazon for like $9.99, and it just had spot welds. And one of them broke early on. I kind of expected that to happen. I should have just welded it up, but I didn't. But threw a zip tie around it. It was fine for the rest of the trip. Let's see here. Chain. That's the same chain that I left home with. Did not change that. As you can see, it's got a little bit of slack in it. But I think I tightened the chain maybe 3 times. And obviously, if I was to hit the trail again tomorrow, I'm going to tighten it up again because it's got quite a bit of play in it. Let's see. Take a look at the kickstand. This is another product of the bouncing off the rocks. So I kept having problems with this foot peg in particular getting bent upwards and rearwards. And at one point, it was bent so bad, I couldn't even put my foot on it. I was like riding with one foot, which is a lot harder than it sounds. But when that's happening and that's getting bent, it's causing this kickstand to get way out of position here. So when you flip that down to hold the bike up, it won't hold the bike up. And if you remember, one of the days I had rocks stacked under here. I did go ahead, and I'm not going to try to bend all that back into place. It's just for what that cost. I bought a new one. I just haven't put it on there yet. But I think the biggest problem is this piece right here hanging down is what kept catching on the rocks. And then it would just twist that back and take the foot peg and that kind of heavy bar right there with it. I'm just glad it didn't bust the bolts out of the bottom of the engine because that would have probably been game over for me. And then I did have, if you remember, I had that skid plate on there, which I know earned its money because I was banging this thing off of all kinds of stuff like I didn't care. But yeah, I mean, that's it. She made it. I'm still on the fence as to whether or not I'm going to wash it. I may just leave it like this for the rest of its life. I think it makes a good conversation piece. But that's it. She held up, and I feel like all the work that I put into it was worth it. All the planning, all the meticulous selection of the different parts that I used, didn't cut any corners. I will say one thing. There are a lot of guys out on the trail tightening bolts and nuts and stuff. And I was very, very diligent when I put this together, and I put red Loctite on every threaded fastener that I had my hands on. And then I even took some out that I wasn't touching and put it on them too. And I think that paid off huge in the end, because I didn't, other than that one nut falling off the last day, never had anything come loose, not one time. So that's it, guys. Feel free, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'm really good about answering comments. I'd like to hear what you think about it. I'd like to hear, you know, if there's things you want to know more that I didn't cover, I'd be happy to put that, you know, put an answer there to that as well. But there it is. We'll go ahead and get this closed out. All right, guys, that's going to wrap this one up. In case you haven't been following along with all the videos, and this is your first time ever watching my channel, I've got a complete playlist that goes along with not only the building of this bike, but the 7-day adventure on the Great American Monkey 1000 that I went on back in October of this year. Do want to thank a couple people, you know, just for helping me out. Obviously, you hear me, I'm a big proponent of Bart Motoco. I like, you know, his one-stop shop concept, and, you know, he's really easy to work with. He did do a few custom things for me along the way, which helped out. Also, can't forget my teammates on the Great American Monkey 1000, Mike, Stuart, John, and Johnny. What an adventure that was with you guys, and I'm ready to do it again in 2027 if you guys are. I just don't know if it's going to be that bike or not. We'll have to see about that. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and if you, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to drop comments down below, and I'd love to be able to respond to you. What am I going to do with the bike next? I think I'm going to fix that back rack. I'm going to fix the foot pegs, fix the brake pedal, and then it's probably going to go on the shelf for the rest of the winter until there's a ride I want to go on in April, a spring ride. It's about 100 miles, I think. It's on road, but I want to take this bike on that ride. So that's what's going to happen with that. But don't worry. There's no lack of projects around this place. I've got a couple bikes that I need to work on for some guys. And then you can see stuff I got sitting up there above I've got plenty of CT70 projects to work on. I've got plenty of ATC70 projects to work on, plenty of Z50 projects to work on. And I also have my ATC 250 SX three-wheeler that I'd like to get buttoned up here before spring, if not sooner. So guys, stick around. If you're not subscribed, it doesn't cost you a penny. Hit that subscribe button so you can see all this upcoming content that I'm talking about. Otherwise, you know, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.